let's talk about this Goldman Sachs development. Goldman trying to maintain the integrity of its chairmanship and CEO roles. Liz Rappaport joins us to break it down for us. Liz,
Hi.
What's the latest on Goldman?
Well, basically, the AFSCME union had proposed a vote for shareholders to split the roles of chairman and CEO,
Yep.
and they did that last September, and Goldman negotiated with them to sort of have that withdrawn from the proxy proposal, which is supposed to come out next week. So basically, shareholders won't be allowed to vote on that. Goldman adjusted its corporate governance guidelines so that the sort of give to the union was we'll name a lead director, which is typically kind of considered a more independent, more powerful role on the board for an independent director. So.
And this is a big shift, right? I mean, Goldman is essentially giving in here, or not necessarily giving in, but they're making a decision here based on what this union kind of wants. And so I guess the big question is, could Lloyd Blankfein have actually lost his chairmanship role? I mean, is that a significant possibility?
I mean, as I understand it, other shareholders expressed the same concern. Splitting the roles is kind of a big issue, and certainly for Wall Street firms like Goldman's, where they've come under intense regulatory and legal scrutiny in the past couple of years. You have the CEO and the chairman as the same person. The question is whether there's enough accountability for sort of the reaction or the response to dealing with that. Obviously, Goldman suffered some reputational hits from it too. Yes, I believe that the company took the shareholder proposal very seriously. I know that they talked with other shareholders about it, and I think that they were working on what might happen if it were to actually come to a yes vote. And there are other technical issues too, like, shareholders, there are certain sort of automatic voting, depending on what the ISS, which is like a big proxy advisory firm, and other proxy advisory firms might say or might recommend to voters, and a lot of big institutions kind of automatically go with what those recommendations are. And the way that Goldman had its governance guidelines were not in kind of in line with the ISS, and now they are. So, they got the shareholder got what they wanted to some degree.
But did Lloyd Blankfein, does he come out of this a winner? He gets to keep both posts.
I think the negotiation was good for him. I think, it also shows how seriously they took it, that they decided to negotiate this so much. I mean, some companies say, oh, you always try to get stuff off the ballot, but the same union proposed this at JP Morgan, American Express, and there are no such negotiations going on there. I mean, Goldman was aggressive, and they took it seriously.
And who's more imperious than Goldman Sachs? I mean,
right.
Even in the pecking order of Wall Street firms, you've got to say Goldman is sort of our way or no way.
Right, but if Jamie Dimon thought that there was a chance that he could be, stripped of his title, I think he would have taken it seriously too. I think that Goldman, that this was a real thing. It wasn't something that the company dismissed.
But 2 years ago, it wasn't a real concern, right? So what's the difference now? I guess it's just because the scrutiny around Goldman now is bigger now than it was in 2010, or what's the difference between the two time frames?
I think the scrutiny is bigger. I mean, in 2010, you were on the front end of all of the regulatory and legal actions, on abacus and things like that, the case on the CDO deal that they settled with the SEC. You're in the front end of that at the shareholders meeting. Now we're on the back end of that. They've recently, had some reputational hits from, a Delaware judge saying that the place was totally conflicted in an M&A deal. I mean, this was after that. But I think the last 2 years have been really, really difficult for the company.
And of course, there was the notorious resignation letter from the Goldman manager recently, who accused the firm of basically taking advantage of their customers. Is this is this settlement going to do anything to quell some of the drumbeats about the problems surrounding Goldman Sachs' reputation?
Well, I actually think that, like you mentioned, Steve, the difference between 2010 and now is kind of what's actually happened, and that at the top levels of the firm and even in the rank and file of the firm, there are questions about the direction of the company. Where is this place going? Where are they going to make a big business decision and go in a certain direction? Retail banking, overseas, whatever it may be. And they've cut a lot of staff. They cut bonuses a lot. Lloyd's been in place for almost 6 years now. a lot of Goldman chief executives do not stay on much longer than that. Partners at the firm in general don't stay on more than 8 to 10 years. So there's a lot of questioning about what has the financial crisis kind of done to Goldman within the firm. I'm saying,
Yeah.
what has the financial crisis done to Goldman? Its reputation, its sort of internal magic, if you will, that they kind of always bank on, and where is it going in the future? So I think that's a question that's the crossroads they're at now that they weren't at in 2010.
And really quickly, before you go, you have a great line in your piece. Lloyd Blankfein has basically told colleagues he would rather die at his desk than give up running the firm.
Well, that references something that I know that he said to a lot of people, which is a reference to a CEO, off the top of my head, I don't remember his name, but of the firm that did have a heart attack and passed away at his desk. And I think what he's saying there is, I don't want to do anything else. And he's been, that's been sort of widely known and reported that Lloyd Blankfein doesn't want to leave his job as CEO, despite all the speculation.
He'll go out with his boots on. All right, Liz Rappaport.